All right, this is an introduction to me reading Many Inventions by Rudyard Kipling, a 1893 work by the uh, Indian English journalist, novelist, poet, and short story writer Rudyard Kipling, who was born in 1865 and died in 1936. Born in what was at that point Bombay, India, British India, and then died in Fitzrovia, London in 1936 at the age of 70. Resting place being Poets' Corner in Westminster Abbey. This book opens with one of his poems. He was very popular as a poet in his time. Yeah, genres: short stories, novels, children's literature, travel literature, and science fiction. I don't know. I'm reading books from 1890 to 1910, which it was very productive time for Rudyard Kipling. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907. So very lauded at his time. I was thinking about skipping this and going right on to the Jungle Book. Arguably his best known work. Still the work that is probably, thanks to Disney, his best known work, and still consumed today. But just because I found Lace Handicaps was pretty rough, because it was all set in British India and had very much the point of view of the Indian people being childlike savages who needed the white man there to rule them. This is the poet who came up with the idea of the white man's burden. That in that case was trying to get the United States to get into colonialism, and it was basically take up the white man's burden of ruling over the lesser races. So yeah, Kipling has come down in the world since his heyday at the time. Even though at his time he was still, there was a lot of people who were not thrilled with Rudyard Kipling. I always try and keep that in mind. I've read a work by Gardner, A.G. Gardner, which very much takes down Kipling, and it's like decries the fact that you would give him the Nobel Prize for Literature when there were other far more deserving writers who were not writers of hate and kind of an ignorant Little England attitude running around. Like, why would you give it to this guy? So I was tempted to just go into the Jungle Book, because I find when he is most in his genre, which of course the Jungle Book is definitely so. The Jungle Book, Just So Stories are probably, I think Just So Stories, maybe. But definitely the Jungle Book, I could see him putting a lot of that behind. But there's only one fiction book separating me from getting to that book. Might have to do some of his nonfiction as well, some of his more significant nonfiction I should take a look at in this time period. It is definitely giving me a good window in on attitudes of this time. And I'm not here to prosecute Kipling, stuff like that. I can see with my own reluctance why maybe Kipling isn't as widely read nowadays, and you roll the dice, and that happens, and sometimes that happens for reasons. So yes, I'm gonna do Many Inventions by Rudyard Kipling, which actually has its own Wikipedia page. It's an 1893 collection of short stories. 11 of the 14 stories appeared in previous various publications, including the Atlantic Monthly, American, the Strand magazine, English. 8 of the stories were written in England, while the other 6 were written in Vermont, after Kipling had married and settled with his wife, Caroline Ballister. And actually, I think they ended up having to leave because there was a lot of friction between England and the United States, and a lot of anti-British sentiment at the time, and they weren't felt welcome there. So they ended up scappering. So yeah, I think I'm going to read this Project Gutenberg text, and starting off with a poem, which will always be a challenge for me to read out loud. All right, let's get into it.